Blank Slate Media, and I'd like to welcome everyone to our sit down with Christine Liu, who is running on the Democratic line for a seat on the Town Council in District 4. She is opposed by James Gianaris, who is running on the Republican and Conservative lines for a district that covers all or part of, and correct us if we're wrong,
Sure.
Great Neck Plaza, University Gardens, Lake Success, Manhasset Hills, Garden City Park, Russell Gardens, Herrick, and New Hyde Park.
Yes, that sounds correct.
Okay, only took us a little while to look at the map to figure it out. This is part of a series of interviews with candidates running for office this November. All candidates for areas covered by Blank Slate Media's 6 papers have been invited to participate. Thus far, not everyone has accepted. I'd like to thank in advance the sponsor for this event and others, Northwell Health, and jump right in with the questions. And let me start with the first question. Christine, you have not held elective office before. So why don't you tell us about yourself and what has prepared you to serve on the Town Council?
Sure. Thank you much, Stephen Blank and Blank Slate Media, for hosting this wonderful interview and giving us a chance to introduce ourselves to everybody. So my name is Christine Liu. I'm a former attorney for Homeland Security. I served at 26 Federal Plaza for several years and enjoyed my job with Homeland. But after having 2 kids and work-life balance becoming a little more difficult, my husband and I decided that I would stay home full-time to raise the family, and that's when we moved out to New Hyde Park from Forest Hills. So once we moved into the school district, my son started kindergarten, and that's when I immersed myself into the community by joining the PTAs and volunteering and leading events at the school. And then that kicked off starting a Girl Scout troop and coaching Little League, softball and baseball. And then later on founding the Herrick's Chinese Association, because my kids went to the Herrick School District and we did have a growing Asian population there or here. So through that work where we put on Lunar New Year celebrations free to the community, over 1,000 people would come every year. Because of that kind of community work, along with my work with the school districts, Judy Bosworth reached out to me, as well as Nassau County, to join their Asian American advisory committees and councils, which I did because I thought it would be great to help be a bridge in the community between local government, our school district, and also the Asian community. So doing that for several years, that's when Assemblywoman Saliti, who's our New York State Assemblywoman for the 16th district, she also found me and reached out and asked if I can join her staff as the community liaison. And I took that opportunity. And it's been a wonderful experience working in government and helping our community and serving in another capacity. So in me as a candidate, you have kind of like a trifecta. You have the legal background, you have the government experience, and the community service and leadership needed for this position. And I would like to say that I've really kicked off my campaign and I've put in 110%. And if elected, I would carry that enthusiasm and effort as town council person, because although it's a part-time position, I would devote myself full-time to the community. I've already told Assemblywoman Saliti, if elected, I would resign from her position, for my position in her office, even though it's only part-time currently, because I wanted to be devoted full-time for District 4 and the town. So I'm really happy to introduce myself to the community today, and thank you for having me.
Okay, can you tell me what you consider to be the 3 most important issues facing the town and your district?
Well, I think there are several, but the top 3 that I've been knocking on doors literally since March. I've knocked on thousands and thousands of doors. People are concerned about public safety, combating, I guess, the rise in racism in our community, unfortunately, and also revitalizing our downtowns and businesses here. So along with other things like housing and environmental issues. But the top three, while door knocking, would be those.
I mean, do you agree with the people that you're speaking to? Are those the three most that you see as the most pressing needs that you would focus your attention?
I would. I mean, this is what the residents feel, and if the majority of the residents feel this way, who am I to argue with that? And I do agree with them as well. So we see this. There's an uptick in a lot of different issues in our community in relationship to crime. Although I'm on the the Commissioner's Community Council, which he said that crime has decreased in 2023 by like 27%. So that is always wonderful to hear, since we have been, I think for the last 3 years in a row, the most safe county in America. And they're waiting for the next year's tally. But that was very impressive. So, but there's still concerns. People are concerned about the migrant issue. We do have the migrant issue or setup at Creedmoor, which is bordering kind of Flora Park and New Hyde Park area. So people have concerns. So I did tell everybody at the doors and whoever asks, the safety and services of our town residents is first and foremost. And as town council person, I will make sure that our residents are always protected and always getting the services that they deserve, as they are our residents here.
What's your feeling about migrants? They are, in terms of being there, most of the people that are coming in are legal asylum seekers who are in need of housing. The dysfunction of Congress has left it that while you're waiting to be judged on whether you're here legitimately as an asylum seeker, you can't work for 6 months. And that, I think, has been part of the issue in New York City. But do you think that the Nassau County should play a part in housing migrants? They're doing it. I know Creedmoor is right on the border. Should the town or Nassau County play any role in housing these people?
So I know John Kamen, who is running for town supervisor on our Democrat ticket. He's the deputy county exec for Suffolk County, and an executive order was issued in Suffolk County in regards to this, saying that the state would not be able to transport asylum seekers into Suffolk County unless there was collaboration between county and state. I know Bruce Blakeman, he has issued a statement saying that migrants will not be allowed in Nassau County, but I haven't seen an executive order yet. So it is a federal issue and it deserves a federal response. Our state is unable to handle the capacity financially at this moment with the services. Residents in New York City are also not very satisfied with what is happening because we haven't gotten any federal funding. So it's a federal issue that definitely needs a federal resolution. And at the same time, we have to just be ensuring that our residents here in Nassau County, in the town of North Hempstead, that our services and our safety are not compromised here.
But it's more than a federal issue because they're in New York City. New York City is asking, is not the federal government, they're asking for help. And so is the governor in terms of having people. Right now, New York City has 100,000 migrants, 60,000 living in shelters. And Nassau County is doing, and Suffolk County are doing nothing. And yes, you can say it's the federal government's responsibility, but they're here. So would they not be better living in Creedmoor or the Nassau Coliseum than being on the streets of New York City?
Well, That is on a county level, and that's why we have our county executives in Suffolk and Nassau County with their commitments to the community and what's best for what our residents would like here. So in terms of capacity, until we have some federal resolutions, it's very hard to open up our Long Island borders at this point, not borders, but if we have transporting them here, we have to make sure that we have the infrastructure and the capacity to do so. And right now, our county executives in Nassau and Suffolk have said, no, we don't. So I need to respect that, and we need to respect that the wishes of our residents as well. So until we have some federal assistance or a plan, it's very hard to say that we would be able to allow thousands and thousands of migrants who are seeking asylum. So we understand, we have compassion for these asylum seekers, but the resolution isn't to allow them to, to go anywhere, because the infrastructure simply can't handle the capacity at this point. So this is how our county executives have decided, and we respect that. And we do ask for a better plan on a federal level.
Let's talk about time commitment. You just said that you're on Assemblywoman, you're the Chief of Staff of Assemblywoman Salidi.
No, I'm not the Chief of Staff.
Oh, you're a member of her.
I'm the community liaison.
Community liaison.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. But you said you would leave that position.
Correct.
If elected. Now, your opponent, Jim Generis, he has a food service business, and he is also the president of the Herrick School Board. Do you think that he would have sufficient time to effectively represent District 4?
So District 4, in the last couple of years, we've had an absentee council person. People are calling, asking for help, and not getting any responses.
This is David Adami?
Current council person is David Adami, and he does have a full-time practice. He's an attorney. And I'm not saying that you can't handle it all, right? You can be effective at what you're doing. But my opponent, he doesn't just have one position in the Great Neck School District. He holds 2 full-time positions there. He's the head of food services and the head of registration or registrar. And plus this year he ran again. It wasn't that he was fulfilling his term. He ran again as Herrick School Board president. And now he's running also for town council. So there's only so much time in the day. And if you're not in the office, you're not in town hall, having meetings with your constituents or being able to answer a call in the office, it's very difficult to say that you can really give your community your 100%. It's just not physically possible, and probably on a mental, other levels too. You just aren't there. You're not present. So in my commitment, I've stated, yes, I would leave my position, which is already just a part-time position. I've already decreased my hours, or times in the day, not my hours, I should say. I cut back from 3 days to 2 days. And I'm also the president of the Herrick Chinese Association. And I've also stepped down as president so that we would not have any conflicts of interest, which I feel is very important. And also my time commitments there have lessened, so I can knock on more doors and talk to more people. And that's what I've been doing since I've started running in this campaign and its election. And I don't know how many doors my opponent has knocked, but I will say that if you have, full-time positions and you're a board president and you have family and other commitments, it will be very hard to be, very active as a town council person.
So one of the areas you mentioned as one of your priorities our downtown.
Yes,
And you would have in this district, Great Neck Plaza,
yes,
which is obviously part of the Great Neck Peninsula. Your district would not be, I think David Adami's would be north of that. So the question has been, particularly Great Neck Plaza has had for years, beautiful downtown, nice sidewalks, brick sidewalks, but many empty storefronts. And this is an issue that stems all the way down Middle Neck Road, out of your district, but still in Great Neck. What would you do to address the downtown business district, which actually Great Neck is probably the one that has had more empty storefronts than any other area, including in your district and beyond your district?
Well, my district also has New Hyde Park, and there are several empty storefronts there as well on Hillside Avenue and along Jericho. But the plaza, which is one of our kind of like prides and joys here in the peninsula and in the town, everybody would always go shopping there. You know, it's just so commuter friendly, and it's got a rich history. So we just have to make sure, coming out of COVID, a lot of this empty storefronts, some were there prior to COVID, but a lot has happened since COVID. And
prior to COVID, excuse me for interrupting. Prior to COVID, there were empty storefronts all over, down in the village, in the plaza, and through up Middle Neck Road. So this has been a problem for years and years at this point.
Yes. And so we just have to become more creative and innovative in what we're doing at the plaza. Obviously, online retail is huge, and the same businesses that used to thrive can't thrive anymore because of the online giants that we have here that make shopping very easy. And I know the supermarket that went from Best Market to Lidl, and then it's been closed down for a while. That is another major concern for the community or for Great Neck Plaza. So since I've started this campaign, I've been connecting with all the different chambers and businesses there, and meeting owners and listening to their concerns. And a lot of it is just, you know, working with the bid more as well. There's a lively bid there as well. So can we get more street fairs? How do we get more foot traffic, basically? Can we get more street fairs? Can we do some restaurant weeks? Can we have more promenades? Things that get people out and excited again. So working with Great Neck Destination, working with the chamber, and connecting businesses. That's what I've been doing too. How can this flower shop have a flower design kind of class in this restaurant? You know, and so connecting those businesses has been fun. Or how
can I just ask you, because those have been done, the street fair was discontinued because merchants weren't interested in participating.
But we have different merchants now as it's growing and developing, and they have been asking for these street fairs along Middle Neck Road. So it's nice.
Let me ask you this. Those are all things that can be done that are being done by the chambers, and the bid has been involved, but there's nobody putting together. The Great Neck Plaza is part of an entire business district that stems down Middle Neck Road into the village of Great Neck. Do you see a role in pulling together, and you have probably 4 different mayors and the town that are in there that get to decide what the zoning is going to be. Do you see anybody, either you or the town supervisor, taking a leadership role and redesigning it? I used to own newspapers in Queens, and I was there when Mayor Bloomberg decided with his assistant Dan Drocro, that they would rezone New York City.
Okay.
And they did. And that's how you have Long Island City in the development. You have developments all over. In Great Neck, on the Great Neck Peninsula, there is no one person like Mayor Bloomberg or Dan Drocro who can say, listen, this is a better way of doing things. Let's have a plan. Let's have a development plan for the business district. Do you see anyone playing that role in organizing it? It has been tried by the Village Association of Mayors over there, but it's hard when you have 9 mayors making a decision on a stretch.
Okay, so that is very difficult, and we don't want to say or impose in such a way, because that would not be the way to build bridges, to go in and try to take over, or to, it's kind of like there's a new sheriff in town. No,
Well,
not that.
it doesn't have to be taking over, but it can be getting a bunch of people in the room and
That-
coming up with a decision.
That
Although I think Great Neck might be better served with just one village.
Well, you can write articles about that, Steve. So we'll leave that to you.
Yeah, I'm not running for office, so I don't have.
In your editorials, but I do believe that getting everybody, all the stakeholders into a room would be an excellent idea to improve the business district in Great Neck. Is something that everybody wants to do. Everybody benefits from that. But how do we do that? And we have to listen to the community. We have to listen to the businesses. We have to listen to the mayors. And I couldn't think of a person better suited for that than our supervisor on the Democrat ticket, John Kamen. His proven leadership and track record in starting 311, in Project Independence, in school recycling, you name it. All those things that he got done in the time that he was supervisor was quite impressive. And I'm very happy that he is at the top of our ticket to lead the way. He's led the way on so many initiatives in Suffolk and now coming back. We are very excited for that. And I think he would be great to pull everybody together with me alongside and the rest of the town board to really revitalize Great Neck and to just brainstorm, to listen, and to also have a plan. I think then executing the plan. So in all those steps, I do believe John Kamen and myself would be at the forefront for Great Neck.
Okay, we're going to assign the 2 of you if you're both elected.
Okay.
So one of the things that was discussed in terms of development has been, and it's done somewhat in Great Neck. There's probably more multifamily housing in certainly the Plaza area than in most areas in the town. But there is a builders, architects, when Ed Mangano was county executive, when he was county executive, and when Laura Kern was county executive, they supported transit-oriented housing, where you have retail on the ground floor and apartments above. That is what is seen as the formula that can be successful for building business districts and aiding housing. So Governor Hochul came up with 2 plans for housing to meet the shortage of housing units in the New York area. One was to allow accessory dwelling units. The other one was to charge everyone, all the areas, saying you had to have 3% growth over 3 years. And she recommended it with transit-oriented housing, opposed very strongly Democrats and Republicans. So let's put those 2 questions together. Do you think, and what is being said by the developers is, what is said by the elected officials, we'll do this on a case-by-case basis. What's being said by the developers is we're not going to come in on that basis because we don't want to invest the time and money to get a variance and then not have it. We'd like to know we can build here, so we'll meet the specifications, but we don't want to go through an appeals process to do that. So do you think that there should be a plan? Let's say you and John came and get together where you look at a place like Middle Neck Road and you bring people together with the idea of zoning an entire area rather than relying on a case-by-case basis.
That's a lot there, Steve. So, first of all, the reason—
And you got to answer that yes or no. No, I
yes.
see.
George Stephanopoulos here. Yes, okay. So let's just start with why Governor Hochul's plan for housing here failed. It's because it took away local control, right? So whether there was going to be more development or not, she wanted to do it her way, unfortunately, and not take into consideration all the stakeholders here, the residents, the chambers, the mayors, the municipalities, and that just wasn't going to work. You can't do a one-size-fits-all for this area. The infrastructure, school districts, can we handle all of those things? So in terms of me and John Kamen coming in, we would still— I'd have to ask John too again, but I think he'd be in agreement with me that we're not just going to go in and rezone things and take over. We still have to take into consideration the villages, what the residents want, what the businesses want, what the school district can handle, what our infrastructure can handle. But this comes to a bigger point. I do believe that the town of North Hempstead needs to have a master plan for housing, a vision, right? And it's not this cookie cutter, let's patch it up here and patch it up there. We do need an overall plan. And the state, and through Governor Hochul now, there is money, there are grants, and villages and municipalities all over are tapping into that to see if they can do studies and develop a master plan for their town, for their county, for their village. And that, I think, is a much smarter way in handling things. Because, okay, let's say we resolve what happens in Great Neck, but what about in Port? And what about in, Westbury? So let's just get it done right the first time. I'm not going to say it's going to happen in 6 months or in, a year, but let's get the study done. Let's get the stakeholders to the table. Let's listen to what people want and what they don't want. And how can we work through this? So I do believe that housing is a major topic here, and we need to have a vision. I don't know if we're going to call it the master plan for North Hempstead housing, but we do need to come up with a better solution.
Do you think there is a problem, when you talk about the shortage of housing, there is because of the shortage of housing here, there's been no growth in population in Nassau County in 50 years, relying on local control. And as a result, young couples can't afford to move in. Young people can't afford to live in the town of North Hempstead for the most part. There are not a lot of apartments for young people graduating school to get an apartment and live in the town of North Hempstead. And there's a shortage of housing units that has driven the prices. Now, here's when you allow residents, the shortage is actually to the benefit of residents. Their price, the value of their home goes up if you don't allow for more housing. But you don't give a lot of flexibility to seniors who want to downsize. You don't give an ability for young couples to move in. So the question is, there was one of the candidates for council who said that he felt, and this was sort of a feeling, that we're all full. And
we're all full.
We can't handle more development. What I hear from a number of officials, we're all full, that we're full up. We've reached the maximum of number of people who can come and continue as we are. Do you think that the town cannot handle additional residential units, particularly maybe multifamily units?
I don't know if we're full because tons of people are moving into the district. So I'm not so sure about that part. But this does go back to the idea of having a master plan for the town of North Hempstead. So we do need to see what our capacities are and where we can develop more and how smart we can do that. And I do think that the study is needed. So having said that, though, when talking to people, whether at Fun Day Monday, the senior groups, I visited all the senior groups at the Great Neck Social Center, Tully Park, Clinton G. Martin, and I'm forgetting one, and Herrick's Community Center. So many of them had said, Christine, it's just so hard to live here. We want to stay in this community. Unfortunately, it's too expensive. And the hard part is they can't move out either, some of them, because it does cost a lot to buy a house in Florida, contrary to everybody's beliefs, to move out there. You still have to have a good amount of money to do that. And yet they don't have enough to stay here as well. But they're not at that level where, they're impoverished, right? But senior housing options, we definitely need to expand. And then the other concern is my kids can't afford to live here. So you have the seniors, and then you have children who can't, after they graduate from college, they can't afford to live here as well. Or even a couple of years after working, it's very difficult with the home prices here. So I understand that. So we have to learn from other counties, even other towns. Like I was looking at the town of Oyster Bay and their golden age housing program there. Seems wonderful. I have to learn more about it too. But you can buy a co-op for about less than 200,000, maybe a 2-bedroom up to 300,000, with low maintenance fees and all these senior amenities. So it seems something very feasible and enjoyable for them to be able to age in place in the community that they help build and they want to stay in and be active in. And at the same time, you don't have to sell your home in order to purchase one of these co-ops. So a lot of them allow their children to move there and pay some rent and help them with their, maintenance fees, which are still very reasonable. So I was thinking, well, that's just the next town over. We can learn from so many other areas too and what they have. And why not do those things? Let's be smart. Let's come up with a plan and let's move forward with it. Instead of saying, oh, we're outpriced. Oh, we don't want to develop. I think if other towns can do it, so can we, and we can probably even do it better. We have the right people in place. So, let's try our best here and stop closing down all development, because we just have to do it in a way that's acceptable to our community and listen to our community and see what they want.
Okay, something that touches on both the downtown business community and residents is the building department and the delays in getting approval. So what do you think needs to be done? Because, effectively, and this was brought up, we're talking about a proposal for a 10% tax cut. But effectively, when you have a building department that is delaying things, and you're a business owner and you're paying rent, then that effectively is a tax on people trying to open up new businesses. Or the delays are effectively an impediment for people to fix their homes, expand their homes, in which they're going to hire contractors. The building part, you want, we were talking about empty storefronts. One of the problems is the fact that it takes too long in many cases to open a business, to get approval to open a business in these areas, and that's helping keep storefronts empty, cuts taxes, you talk about store traffic. Those are other people that are not attracting store traffic. What is your, and this has been going on for a while now, what do you think should be done?
Yeah, so this is another big topic that people are complaining about. I think the supervisor, when she was running in 2021, said that she'd fix the buildings department in all of these delays. And here we are in 2023 talking about the same issues. So a lot of people are very upset by those delays. And granted, because they're losing income when they are applying for storefronts and being renovated and all of that. So that's one level. But there's the frustration of you just want to get some work done in your house. So I understand that. Now, when Judy Bosworth last year in office, she did roll out Citizen Serve, which you can submit your permits and everything online, your application. And I think that has helped in a way. So if you need to upload documents instead of going to the buildings department and waiting, that has probably helped, but there's still the same delays. And one, we need more examiners, right? So part of this is getting inspected, getting the approval. And if we don't have enough examiners, that delays the process. So that could be one, an easy fix. But two, the problem is sometimes when an inspector comes, and let's say you're renovating your kitchen, but somehow they found that you have a basement that doesn't, a bathroom in your basement that doesn't have a permit for it. So that will delay your application or your permit because everything has to be up to code before you're granted this permit. So when I was talking to John about it, and he says, well, Christine, we just have to bifurcate the process, right? So there are violations that you have. We're not going to ignore them, but we're not going to make this dependent upon this other area, unless it's, a total detriment or a safety hazard, okay? Not these like life-saving issues. But basically, if you can bifurcate and keep the process of your permit, your application going while addressing the violations separately, that could actually keep moving everything in the right direction for you and hopefully not cause so many delays in this process. And I think that would help tremendously with people who are wanting to renovate their homes and also for commercial storefronts and businesses as well. That's just one of the things that we have in mind. So the delays can be cut down significantly if it's not dependent upon your whole house being up to code. Like you have to fix the egress windows or your garage is not facing the right way or something like that. It just takes too long. So hopefully John is explaining this as well, that we would be able to make it more effective while not jeopardizing the safety of your home, but also not delaying it by like months and months and sometimes even years, unfortunately.
You also are going to, there's a question now of the Islamic temple on Hillside Avenue, which I guess is now part of is part of the new District 4, where they want to have a parking lot and they want to add another floor, and it's before the town. Just a quick question. When they originally built the temple, it was rejected. And then attorneys then recognized that as a religious institution, they have a right to build right away, that there is no requirement for the town board to say yes or no. They can look at the safety, but they can't say, no, you can't build.
Within the code. Within the code,
right.
Within the code.
And they did have some issues with that initially. So why are they going to the town board for this anyway? If they have as of right, as a religious institution, which in this country, the Supreme Court said, you can build anywhere you want.
Well, they still need these variances still. They want certain, what do you call those, like cut-throughs or entrances? So there's different things that they still need variances for, right? So that's why they have to come to the board.
Okay.
But listening to all of this, whenever these bigger projects are coming up into the town or up for review, I do believe the council person responsible for that district should be aware and should, before it gets calendared, actually call all the stakeholders together to discuss. Because emotions are very high when you go to a town board meeting, because people are very anxious that the vote could be tonight. So I have to say what I want to say, or else, it could go the other way. So everybody's on offensive and they're on the defensive, and it goes on for hours. And then people's feelings get hurt because people are saying, not or inappropriate things sometimes. But it's all out of frustration and anger because, one, maybe they weren't notified that this was happening, or two, I only have like 3 minutes to speak, and then, I get shut down. So the emotions are pumping there. And I do believe, as town council person, and I've seen it done very effectively with Councilman Troiano and Councilman Del Monte, where you have kind of hearings with the different stakeholders to discuss the issues in a nice, hopefully calm atmosphere where emotions are not raging, and to hear about what the plan is, because half the time people come in and there are all these rumors that you have to first dispel. And then once you get to that point, then you can actually talk about the heart of the issue, right? So having these meetings beforehand with the civics, with the residents, with the chambers and the engineers and the building commissioner, and traffic studies, all of this, we do have nice meeting spaces, whether it be, Tully or at CG and Clinton G. Martin, and then let's just talk. And let's talk about the traffic issues that are happening, or the dangers that you see as residents, and what you would like to see from the mosque, and what the mosque has been trying to do for the community all these years, and how they've hired, security, but it may not be as effective as they think, when somebody is just in a yellow vest telling them to move, and sometimes, the people commuting there aren't listening to them. So let's just hash out those issues before we get to the town hall. And then hopefully we can come up with some compromises. And then when we are at town hall and at a board meeting, there's a decorum there and there's an understanding there. And hopefully it's explained to the public and it gets voted on, and it gets passed or it doesn't get passed. But at least there has been a process in which people feel that they've been heard and listened to, and issues have been addressed. And I think that requires a full-time council person to deal with all of those issues. And that's what I hope to do for the community, whether it's for a mosque, whether it's for a church, whether it's for, a new business. There are concerns for residents that need to be addressed. And hopefully we can do that before we can get to town hall.
All right, let me ask you, talking about town hall and people yelling and,
Oh no, I don't want to talk about this, Steve. I already see where you're going with this.
and getting emotional and
Uh-huh.
not getting along, why are you running for a town council? They seem to be, their behavior doesn't seem to be that worse than the frustrated residents that you're describing here. What do you attribute? Do you think, number one, are you planning on going in with a helmet into a dysfunctional town council? Or what would you do to change that? Where there doesn't seem to be cooperation between the supervisor and the town council, at least as it's constituted now, where you have a Republican supervisor and a Democratic majority.
So I think in years past, ever since I've moved here, and I've been a resident now for over 12 years, I don't think we've ever seen this kind of interaction at town council. And town councils have never been, unanimously Democrat or Republican. has been, there's always been Republicans and Democrats working together. So we do need leadership that knows how to reach both sides of the aisle, how to compromise, how to work together, how to bridge everybody together and their differences. So I do think leadership matters. Okay.
So let me ask you this. We've taken from your comments before that you could get along with John Kamen. My question is, what about Jennifer DeSena?
I believe I can get along with everybody. So as long as we see what we're doing is best for the residents. I tell people at the door, at the most local level, it doesn't have to be Republican or Democrat. These roads that we drive on, these town roads, who picks up the garbage, the parks, we all live, work, and play here, right? If we're going to fix the light, is it because this is, a Democrat district or Republican district? No, we're just going to fix the lights. We're going to renovate the pool. We're going to, repave the sidewalk because everybody, Republican or Democrat, travels on it, plays here, enjoys this community. So I think that's the mentality I come with. And all of my mailers, I've never attacked the supervisor in any way. I've just run on my record and what I plan to do when coming into office. So I don't think I carry any animosity in this campaign or going into this, into town hall in any way. I think I've been a very cooperative with the town and all the elected officials. I work for Assemblywoman Saliti, and she's a great leader and role model to me. And she has gotten along with everybody as well. So we are just doing what's best for the town residents. And I don't think our politics should divide us when we're deciding how best to spend the money in the town, or whether we decide to cut taxes or raise taxes or whatever we do. We're taking into the best, we're looking at the best interest for all of our residents. And so we shouldn't really, we should all cooperate and work together as best as we can.
Now, taxes have become a big issue. Supervisor DeSena is running, has proposed a 10% tax cut this year for the town. There's the amount that was raised when John Kamen was supervisor from 2004 to 2013 has been an issue. Claims that he raised taxes a lot. John Kamen says that's not the case. So let's talk about
all of those each year's increments, by the way, Steve. And I calculated, and it's $44.50 in the, is it 10 years? So that is the amount that John Kamen has raised over his time as supervisor, $44.
$44 for the average homeowner in additional town taxes.
So that is on all of our literature now, and John Kamen has made sure to communicate that to everybody. Okay.
So
this has been very difficult. Yes.
Okay, so the 10%. Let's talk about this year's proposed 10% tax cut. Do you think, would you approve it?
So when everybody hears about a tax cut, everybody likes the idea. We want a tax cut. I'd love a tax cut, right? But how are we doing it? If the expenses are still the same or they're growing and you're not cutting any services, so where is this money coming from? Where is this tax cut coming from? And it's coming from our reserves. So as a person who manages the home, right, it's basically like you're dipping into your savings to cover your monthly expenses, right? And you can do that short term. Sometimes things happen, right? You may have lost your job. You may have had an extra expense that month. You had to buy a car for some reason, right? So we understand that we can dip into savings sometimes. But if you're going to be dipping into savings year after year, and now with another 10% tax cut, you have to make sure that, you can sustain this over time because this will compound. Your 10% cut now, along with your 5% last year, you're going to be compounding over time. And the reason why you have some extra money in your savings or in your reserves is because of the windfall from COVID. The extra $15 million in revenue that the town generated came from online sales. I don't know about you, Steve, but I did have a lot of toilet paper and Bounty and handy wipes and everything. So we did purchase a lot during COVID, and we generated revenue from that. And a lot of people moved in to our town during the pandemic as well. So we did get revenue from mortgage taxes. And also a lot of people renovated because they had time at home. So buildings department and all those permits generated. And that in these 2 years, it generated $15 million. But are we expecting that going forward? You know, now interest rates have increased. And so the housing market has slowed down a bit. So I don't see that we're going to have that same big windfall this year or next year going forward. So we have to really be fiscally responsible. Now, my opponent is on the school board of Herrick's. Has he ever, dipped into the reserves or into the savings, I would call it, for operating expenses? I would think not. You do go into your reserves for maybe some capital projects. I know last year, the town board voted on $2 million to pave our roads, $1 million for sidewalks, another $250,000 for beautification. And those are capital projects that you do, it's a one-time expense. And so just like maybe we need to buy a car, we need to dip into our savings account. We understand that. But an ongoing way of just cutting taxes is going to, in the long run, if we don't have these big windfalls year after year, it will potentially be a problem. And then what are we going to do to fix it? Are we going to have a massive tax hike in order to recoup in all these savings that we've depleted? It's going to be difficult. So I'm not at town board yet, so I don't know what the town board is going to do or vote on it. But I would just ask that everybody be fiscally responsible.
But is there a point, let's say you do have this windfall, where your reserves, and this is the argument that's been made by Supervisor DeSena, is that, well, it just, over the years, we just built up a larger reserve than we actually need. So why not?
It's really just from the last 2 to 3 years from the pandemic, right? So the ARPA money that came from federal and state funding, that isn't in those funds. So this is really just from the windfall of COVID. And now we are coming out of COVID, and the housing market, like I said, is slowing down. People are not renovating as much because they don't have time right now. So I don't know if we can bank on that anymore. I mean, there could be projections, but we just have to be fiscally responsible in how to spend or not spend our money.
Okay. One other thing that, and this is talking about being fiscally responsible, is the fact that the resignation of the controller, the county controller, and 2 deputies, and the purchasing manager. In the county controller, this was during budget time, and it was done without notice. And there's been a debate with Supervisor DeSena and the town council is what led up to this. This, I guess, could go under the heading of town council dysfunction. But what do you make of those resignation of finance officials? This is we're having this big discussion about taxes, and you had the top finance person in the county resign without notice just when the budget is being presented. What do you make of that?
So I think leadership matters again, right? So how the supervisor handles what happens at the town is very important. Who they hire, how people are treated, what is expected of them. That all comes from top down. and the town board as well, you know, we all need to cooperate together. But I don't want to speak into those issues of personal resignations of what's happening there. But you know, the environment is your work environment is very important, and you have to feel appreciated. You have to feel that you are doing your job well, and you have to have a healthy work environment. So I would say that leadership matters, and I hope that if elected, I can bring the type of leadership in which people would like to stay or like to come and work at the town and stay and enjoy their job, and we do it well. And I don't see why that can't happen.
Okay. So final question.
Final question. Okay.
I'll ask you more if you want, but
Okay.
I'm running out of my list. Why should voters vote for you rather than Jim Generis for town council in District 4?
Well, I think I don't speak negatively about anybody, really. I just point out the facts and I run on my record. But my opponent is really running on the record of John Kamen right now. He's just pointing to, you know, the alleged corruption and tax hikes and how, you know, this will change the perspective of the town and how we have to fight against this. You know, I think it's getting kind of tired. So you need to just run on your record. Be proud of your record and what you will do for the town. And I am proud of my record. As a community leader, I've helped bridge the gap with community and law enforcement, community and local, you know, local and county level government. I've knocked on so many doors to listen to people's issues. I've helped bring wonderful diversity to the town and to this ticket. I'm accessible. I provide opportunities, and I've just been somebody who's in this community and wants to make it better. And I think that all the work that I've done with Assemblywoman Salidi, all the work I've done with our community just already makes me just an easy fit into this position. So if you want me to say all the wonderful things that I've done, I could, but then that would take so long, right? But I will just say that my platform has always been increasing public safety, combating racism on all levels, revitalizing our downtowns and businesses, and expanding our senior housing options and programming so that everybody here would enjoy the quality of life that we've come to know to love and perhaps even expand and improve on. So that is why I think I would make an easy fit into this office with my experience.
Well, I like to thank you again for taking the time. I'd also like to thank Northwell Health for sponsoring today's discussion. A recording of today's discussion can be found on our website, theisland360.com, our Facebook page, and our YouTube channel. A story about today's interview will appear in the 6 Blank Slate media, or at least 3 or 4 of them that cover the district.
My district, okay.
Well, yes, that would be the idea.
Okay.
As I mentioned, I have offered the hour for us to do this. I do this on the basis of helping make a decision on who we will endorse. I do believe that voters should take into account the willingness of people running for office to subject themselves to sessions like this and answer the questions for the newspaper, which we serve the community, as well as the public. So again, I'd like to thank Christine Liu, the Democratic candidate for District 4 on the North Hempstead Town Council, for sitting down with us and sharing her views. Thank you again.
Thank you, Steve. You know, this is my first media interview, and it's been quite pleasant. So thank you so much. And I guess I'm a newbie to this. I've never run for political office. So everything is a first time experience. And today has been something that I think I can check off and say that I had a good time. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very